Okay, so today I'm starting out with the Nars Instant Line and Pore Perfector, which is basically just a primer, and I'm just going to be applying this in the places on my face where I think need more attention when it comes to pores. And I'm going to be doing my eyes first as usual, but I'm applying this now so when I come back to do my foundation, the primer will set in. I'm going to be priming my eyes. I'm using MAC's Paint Pot and Soft Ochre. I always switch back between this one and Painterly depending on how light or how dark I am when I self-tan, and right now this is the one that's working for me. The first eyeshadow I'm using is Wedge. This is from MAC, and I'm using the 228 brush from Zeleva, which is like the exact same thing as the Morphe M441 and the Sigma E40, except for the Sigma one has black bristles, but they do the same thing. And then I'm going to be using the same brush, and I'm taking Fawn eyeshadow now from Anastasia, and I'm just putting it right over top of Wedge, and I'm bringing it all the way to the inner corner of my eye and the outer corner, and I'm leaving the center of my lid blank, and then I'm just going to be blending it back and forth through the crease. Now I'm taking Smoke. This is also an eyeshadow from Anastasia, and I did switch brushes. Right now I'm using the Sigma E25, which is just a little bit smaller and thinner. It's a little bit more tapered than the one I was using before. And instead of just going in with a straight up black, I am building up the color. So I started with like a lightish gray brown, and then I go a little bit darker and a little bit darker each shadow I use. This is just going to help so much with the blending, and this is just going to make it look a lot better and add more depth and dimension to the eyes, especially since I am going to be using a color in the center of my lid. Then I'm taking a black eyeshadow. This is Corrector from Makeupbydeanna, but any black eyeshadow will work. And since I'm going in with such a dark shadow, I'm using a smaller dome brush just to apply the color, just so I don't get it everywhere and so it won't be as messy. So I'm putting the black on the inner and outer part of my lid, and then I'm going back in with the Sigma E25, and I'm using this to blend it out so the black on the inner and outer part of my lid will meet in the crease, just so it's all attached and blended together. Now this part is totally optional. I just wanted to add a little warmth to the crease, so I'm taking Brown Script from MAC, and I'm putting it higher up in my crease than I normally do because I don't want to apply it over top of the grays and blacks, because that's when it can start to kind of look ashy. And now I'm taking a gold eyeshadow. This is Amber Lights, also from MAC. I have used this in a video before, but I felt like other golds were either too pale or too yellow. And since I'm using a black, I wanted to use a darker gold because it just looks better with dark colors, especially using a black. Because for me personally, if I were to use like a pale yellow gold, I most likely wouldn't pair it with a black eyeshadow like this. Usually when I use black, it's with darker colors. But anyways, because I did prime my face already, I'm going to be going in with foundation. I'm using the Smashbox 15-Hour Wear Hydrating Foundation. I don't know why this foundation looks so light in that clip. It's actually not that pale in person, but I'm applying it with a Sigma F80, which is their flat top kabuki brush. And once I'm done with the brush, I'm just taking my damp beauty blender and I'm just pressing it into my skin. This will just ensure that there's no excess foundation sitting on my face, and it will just help make everything look better and not cakey. And then I'm going to be using the Lise Watier. I always hear it pronounced differently, so I'm not sure, I might have mispronounced it, but I'm going to be using this for my concealer and for my contour as well. So first I'm going to be taking one of the lighter shades, and I'm just using a regular concealer brush to apply it. I'm putting it under my eyes. I'm applying it like an upside down triangle shape, and then I'm going to be bringing it back towards my ear a little bit. And then I'm going to be evening out the highlight. I'm just putting some down the bridge of my nose and a little bit on my forehead and a little bit on my chin. And now I'm contouring with that darkest color in the palette. I did wipe off my concealer brush just to make sure there was no leftover concealer on it. And I love this color corrector palette for this color because it's perfect to contour with. It's so hard to find like a cream contour shade that's not too warm or doesn't have too much orange in it. Every cream contour kit I own does not have a color that is more cool toned or gray. They're all too warm and more for bronzing as opposed to contouring, so I'm loving this product. I'm also contouring my nose just a little bit. I'm going to be putting 2 parallel lines down the sides of my nose, and I'm bringing it all the way up into the crease of my eyes. I'm also putting it at the very top of my forehead. This is going to give the illusion of a smaller forehead. That's all contouring is. If you ever want something on your face to look smaller, just use a cool tone bronzer, which will mimic the appearance of a shadow. I did put some on my jawline and under my lip as well. Putting it there is just going to help make that bottom lip look bigger because, like I said, it's going to look like a shadow. Then I'm going to be taking my beauty blender again, and I'm going to blend out my under eye and everywhere else I put the lighter shade. And then I took my foundation brush because it's easier using a brush to blend out your contour, and it will help in case I got too much of that darker color on my face, which I didn't, but like I said, it's just faster with a brush. And I took my concealer brush to clean up around the side of my one eye just because there was some dark shadow that was a little bit too far in. And I took a little bit more concealer just to clean up underneath my contour. Once I apply it right underneath, I'm just going to use that brush and blend it downwards. And I'm going to be taking my beauty blender just to make sure everything is blended out. Doing this will just make it look more clean and will help make your contour look more structured. Then I'm taking my Zoeva contour brush and I'm using a powder just to set that cream underneath there. And this powder will also help brighten it up under there just so it doesn't look like I have bronzer falling down my face, even though I should have done this after I go in with my powder bronzer, but whatever. Anyways, I'm using the Sigma tapered highlighter brush now just to sweep any excess powder away. I'm also using it with my MAC shaping powder in Emphasize and my Anastasia banana powder. I'm mixing them together and I'm going to be using it underneath my eyes just so my concealer doesn't crease. I'm also applying it anywhere else I put that concealer, and I'm using this powder and I'm applying it to the tops of my cheekbones. If you are more mature and you don't like to have too much highlight on your cheekbones, you can use a lighter powder like this and it will still give you a nice subtle highlight without all the shimmer. And now I'm going in with a powder bronzer. I'm using a different brush even though it looks like it's the exact same brush. This one's from Morphe. The only difference is the bristles are a little bit longer and fluffier than the Sigma one, but this brush is amazing for contouring. I love it. And the bronzer I'm using was a limited edition one. It's from Clarins, but any bronzer will work. You don't even have to go over it with a powder one if you are satisfied with how dark it is, but I'm just applying it everywhere I applied the cream contour just to intensify it a little bit more. For blush, I'm using this one from Smashbox. It's called Chiffon, and I'm applying it to the apples of my cheeks and then blending it back into my bronzer. Then I'm going to be highlighting my face. I'm using the Too Faced Candlelight Highlighter, and I'm using a fan brush from Carity to apply it. I'm putting it on the tops of my cheekbones and then just a little bit on my Cupid's bow. Moving on to my eyebrows, I'm using the same thing I always do, which is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder in Soft Brown, and I'm going to skip through this pretty fast just because it takes me a long time to fill them in whenever I do my makeup. And now that I'm done my face, I'm going to be using the Smashbox primer water. This will help with all the powder I applied to my face just so I don't look too powdery, especially because I have very dry skin. Now on a flat definer brush, I'm putting smoke against my lower lash line. This is actually the 212 brush from MAC, but it's the exact same thing as the E15 from Sigma. Then I'm taking a pencil brush with a little bit of Wedge on it, and I'm using this to blend out the shadow I just applied. Using a lighter color like this will help blend out any darker color you use. I'm using a different brush now. It's the same pencil brush, just a different one, and I did wet my brush with my Smashbox primer water just to help pick up the pigment and make it more intense. So I'm applying the gold to the inner corner of my eyes, and I'm just bringing it down to meet the color on my lower lash line. And then I'm highlighting my brow bone. I used Shroom eyeshadow from MAC, but then I took that pale yellowish side from the Too Faced highlighter, and I'm just applying it right above the gold on my inner corner. So I'm not applying it like over top of the gold, I'm just putting it right above it, and I'm kind of sweeping it more around the gold so I still have that light on the inner corner. And for my lips, I'm taking the Urban Decay lip liner in the shade Naked 2, and I'm outlining my lips and then I'm going to fill them in completely. I'm going for more of a nude lip just because my eyes are so dramatic, but if you don't want to do a nude lip, I think a red lip would look so gorgeous with these eyes. It would be more dramatic, obviously, but it would still be so pretty. And then I wanted to lighten it up a bit, so I'm taking the Anastasia liquid lipstick in the color Pure Hollywood, and I'm just applying it over top of the lip liner, and then once that dries, I'm going back in with the lip liner just to give me that ombre lip, just so my lips don't look too flat. And this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys!